Welcome back to the Quantum Soul channel. Get ready for a deep dive into a topic that might just send shivers down your spine.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about a whole new type of spiritual obsession that's emerging, and it's connected to the idea of parallel realities.
Yes, it's a fascinating and somewhat unsettling concept. What we're dealing with here isn't just some abstract theory about the multiverse.
Right.
We're looking at something that's actively impacting people's lives, and it's forcing us to rethink how we understand reality, consciousness,
Yeah.
and the choices we make.
It sounds like we're stepping into the realm of science fiction, but you're saying this is based on real experiences.
Absolutely. This deep dive is based on the work of Marcos André,
Yeah.
a therapist and expert in apometry, who, along with his team at the Orono Spiritualist Center, has been working directly with individuals experiencing this phenomenon. They've uncovered compelling evidence for what they call multiverse obsession.
Okay, before we go any further, can you explain what apometry is? I'm sure some of our viewers might not be familiar with the term.
It's a spiritual healing technique that focuses on identifying and addressing energetic blockages and issues that might be rooted in past lives,
Okay.
attachments to entities, or even interference from other dimensions or timelines, as we're discussing today.
So how did Marcos and his team even stumble upon this idea of multiverse obsession? Sounds pretty out there.
It came directly from their work with clients.
Oh, wow.
They started noticing recurring patterns, unusual symptoms, and energetic blockages that didn't fit into the typical categories of spiritual or psychological issues. Through their apometry work, they started uncovering these strange connections to other timelines, to alternate versions of their clients' lives.
Wow.
And the more they investigated, the more they realized they were dealing with something entirely new.
Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this.
Yeah.
Marcos starts his lecture by laying out some pretty mind-bending concepts.
Yeah.
He talks about us being a temporal consciousnesses existing in a material realm. Can you unpack that for us?
Essentially what he's saying is that our true essence, our core consciousness, exists outside the constraints of linear time. He calls this our Moa,
Okay.
a primordial consciousness that perceives all our experiences simultaneously existing on a higher plane. Imagine it this way.
Okay.
We experience time as a straight line, moving from past to present to future.
Right.
But our Moa, unbound by this linear perception, experiences all those moments at once as a sort of eternal present.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
My head's already spinning a bit.
yeah.
So if our MOA exists outside of time, experiencing all the potential choices in reality simultaneously,
Right.
what does that mean for free will? Does it even exist?
That's a question that has puzzled philosophers for centuries.
Right.
Marcos suggests that free will and predestination aren't mutually exclusive. He believes there are certain pivotal events, what he calls absolute temporal points,
Okay.
which are pre-programmed experiences we can't avoid. These points often nudge us towards our spiritual path.
So it's kind of like we're all on a train heading to a specific destination, but we can choose where to sit, what to look at out the window,
Yeah.
and who to talk to along the way.
That's a great analogy.
Oh, yeah.
Within that larger framework of predetermined points, we still have choices to make. Each decision we make creates a ripple effect,
Okay.
branching out into a multitude of potential timelines within the vast multiverse of our consciousness.
This is where it starts to get really interesting, but also a bit creepy.
Okay.
Marcos says there are forces opposing human awakening that are using their knowledge of time to manipulate our reality.
Right.
How is that even possible?
It's all about understanding how energy and consciousness operate across timelines.
Okay.
These forces can tap into the Akashic Records, a sort of cosmic library containing all our experiences and emotions. By exploiting our vulnerabilities, past traumas, or even ancestral patterns, they can create what Marcos calls paradoxical consciousnesses. Imagine a being that can travel through time and subtly interfere with key events in our past.
Attempting to steer us away from our spiritual growth and full potential.
Can you give us a specific example of what this might look like in someone's life?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Marcos describes the case of a woman, a successful therapist in her current life, who kept having recurring dreams of being a powerful political leader in another timeline.
Oh, wow.
In these dreams, she made decisions that ultimately caused great suffering. These dreams weren't just random visions.
Right.
They were intensely emotional, filled with guilt and regret, and those emotions began to seep into her waking life, leading to anxiety and depression. It was as if a part of her consciousness from that other timeline was trying to drag her back into those negative karmic patterns.
So even though she'd consciously chosen a path of healing in this life, she was still entangled with the choices made by another version of herself in another timeline.
Exactly. It's a bit like the idea of karma,
Right.
but playing out across multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
And this is just one example. Marcos also describes the case of a young writer whose creative energy was completely blocked by an entity that turned out to be an alternate version of himself from the future.
Wow.
Riddled with bitterness and jealousy, projecting those negative emotions back in time to sabotage the writer's success.
This is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I can already feel the comment section buzzing with questions and maybe a little bit of fear.
Right.
If these forces can manipulate our past and create these paradoxical consciousnesses, does that mean they can actually change the course of our lives?
That's a question Marcos and his team are still exploring.
Yeah.
What they've observed is that these forces can certainly disrupt our lives and create energetic blocks that make it harder for us to evolve spiritually.
This brings up a really important question. What can we do to protect ourselves from this kind of multiversal interference? Before we dive into that,
Yeah.
I want to encourage everyone watching to hit that like button,
Yes,
subscribe to our channel, and share this video with anyone you think might find it valuable.
definitely. But the good news is that we're not powerless in the face of this.
Yes, please tell me there's something we can do. I imagine some of our viewers are feeling a bit vulnerable right now,
Right.
realizing that their spiritual development could be influenced by forces operating outside their normal perception of time and space. Where do we even begin to protect ourselves?
The first and most important step is awareness. Simply knowing that this phenomenon exists is a huge step towards empowerment. By recognizing the potential for our energy and choices to be influenced by events happening in other timelines, we can become more vigilant, more discerning about the energies we allow into our lives.
So it's like anything else in life. We can't protect ourselves from something we're not even aware of.
Exactly.
But once we know about it, we can start taking precautions. What might those precautions look like when we're dealing with something as complex as multiverse obsession?
One of the most crucial things we can do is strengthen our connection to our MOA, our primordial consciousness that exists beyond linear time. When we're firmly rooted in that higher awareness, that sense of our eternal self, it becomes much harder for these external forces to manipulate our energy or influence our choices.
That makes sense. It's like having a strong anchor in the middle of a storm. The stronger our connection to that anchor, that higher self, the less likely we are to be tossed around by the waves of external influences. How can we cultivate this kind of deep connection to our MOA?
Meditation is a powerful tool for this.
Okay.
It allows us to quiet the mind, to move beyond the constant stream of thoughts and emotions that can make us vulnerable to outside interference. By cultivating inner stillness, we can tap into that deeper level of awareness where our MOA resides.
Okay. Meditation. That's a familiar practice for many people on a spiritual path.
Yes.
What else can we do?
Energy work can also be very effective.
Okay.
Practices like Reiki or Qigong help us become more aware of our energy field, identify any blockages or weaknesses, and cultivate a more resilient energetic body.
So it's not just about cultivating a strong connection to our higher self, but also about maintaining a healthy and balanced energy field. It's like we need both a strong inner core and strong outer defluxes.
Exactly. Think of your energy field as a protective shield. The stronger and more resilient your shield, the harder it is for negative energies to penetrate. Marcos also emphasizes the importance of addressing ancestral patterns. Remember, these forces can exploit vulnerabilities that have been passed down through our family lineage, making us more susceptible to manipulation from other timelines.
You know, the idea that ancestral patterns can play a role in multiverse obsession really resonates with me. I've had to do a lot of inner work to heal from traumas that originated generations ago in my family line. It makes me wonder how many of our personal struggles might have roots in other timelines, in the experiences of our alternate selves.
That's a profound insight, and it highlights how interconnected we are, not just with our ancestors in this timeline, but potentially with all versions of ourselves across the multiverse. By addressing these ancestral patterns through practices like family constellation work or ancestral healing rituals, we can start to disentangle ourselves from those negative inheritances, making ourselves less susceptible to manipulation.
This is all starting to make a lot more sense, but I'm still curious about the role of optometry in all of this. You mentioned earlier that Marcos and his team have developed specific techniques for dealing with multiverse obsession. Can you tell us more about that?
Certainly, apometry offers a powerful set of tools for identifying and neutralizing the effects of multiverse obsession. Because it works directly with energy and consciousness, it can help us access and interact with different dimensions. For example, they use specific commands and visualizations to sever the energetic cords that connect us to these paradoxical consciousnesses, allowing us to reclaim our energy and sovereignty.
It sounds almost like a kind of energetic surgery, cutting those ties that bind us to those negative influences from other timelines.
That's a good way to put it. And people who have undergone these apometry sessions often report feeling lighter, freer, like a huge weight has been lifted from their shoulders. They're able to move forward with a greater sense of clarity and purpose.
That makes sense, especially given how much energy these paradoxical consciousnesses can drain from us. It's interesting that Marcos uses the term liberation, because that seems to be what this is all about, right? Liberating ourselves from those unseen forces that are trying to limit our potential, to keep us trapped in cycles of suffering and limitation.
Exactly. And the more we understand about the nature of these forces, the more empowered we become to break free from their influence. It's not about living in fear of the multiverse, but about recognizing our own power as multidimensional beings.
So even though this concept of multiverse obsession might seem frightening at first, it actually points to a much grander and more empowering vision of who we are. We're not just limited to a single timeline, a single set of experiences. We have access to infinite possibilities.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The key is to awaken to that awareness, to cultivate the discernment and resilience we need to navigate the complexities of the multiverse, and to choose the timelines and experiences that align with our highest potential.
This has been incredibly insightful, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface of this vast and mysterious subject. Before we move on to our final segment, I want to remind everyone watching to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this information with anyone you think might benefit from it. We'll be back in a moment to delve even deeper into the fascinating world of multiverse obsession. Welcome back to our exploration of multiverse obsession. We've covered a lot of ground, from the nature of our multidimensional selves to the unsettling ways these paradoxical consciousnesses can impact our lives.
Indeed, it's been a deep dive into uncharted territory. But amidst these complex concepts, there's a powerful message of empowerment.
Right.
We're not passive victims in this multiversal game. By understanding the dynamics at play, we can reclaim our agency and shape our own reality.
That's a reassuring thought, especially considering the idea of the great convergence that Marcos André talks about, where these parallel timelines begin to merge, intensifying the effects of both positive and negative energies. How can we prepare for such an event and navigate these intensifying energies?
Grounding is absolutely crucial. We need to stay connected to the physical world, to nature, to our bodies. This helps us maintain stability and presence, making it harder for external forces to destabilize us.
It's like we need to have a solid foundation in the present moment, even as we're exploring these vast realms of consciousness that extend beyond time and space. What are some practical ways we can strengthen that grounding connection?
Spending time in nature is incredibly grounding. Walking barefoot on the earth, gardening, even just sitting under a tree can help us reconnect with the physical world. Practices like yoga and Tai Chi can also help us cultivate a deeper awareness of our bodies and their connection to the earth.
Those are all great suggestions. It makes me think about how much we've disconnected from the natural world in our modern lives, and how that might be making us more vulnerable to these subtler energetic influences.
That's a very astute observation. The more we immerse ourselves in the digital realm, the more we risk losing touch with our physical and energetic grounding. It's about finding that balance. Speaking of balance, Marcos also emphasizes the importance of energy hygiene. Just as we take care of our physical bodies through diet and exercise, we need to care for our energetic bodies as well.
What does energy hygiene look like in practice?
It's about setting healthy boundaries in all areas of our lives, especially in our digital interactions. We're constantly bombarded with information and energies online, and it's easy to become overwhelmed and depleted. Be mindful of the content you consume, the accounts you follow, and the energy you allow into your space. You have the power to choose.
So it's about being more intentional with our online interactions, being more selective about what we allow into our minds and our energy fields. I know I've certainly experienced that feeling of energetic drain after spending too much time on social media.
It's a very common experience. And it's not just about limiting our exposure to negative content. It's also about being mindful of the energy we project outward. Are we contributing to the negativity, or are we radiating positivity and light?
That's a powerful reminder.
Yeah.
We're not just receivers of energy, we're also transmitters.
Exactly.
It makes me think about the ripple effect we create with every thought, word, and action.
Yes.
Both in this timeline and potentially across the multiverse. Along with grounding and energy hygiene. What other tools can we use to navigate this new landscape of multiverse obsession?
Developing our intuition is key. The more we tune in to our inner guidance system, the more easily we can discern between energies that are aligned with our highest good and those that are not.
So if I find myself feeling uneasy or drained in a certain situation or around a particular person, that could be my intuition signaling that something's off.
Right.
That there might be some multiversal interference at play.
It's certainly a possibility. Of course, it's always wise to rule out any physical or psychological factors first. But if those feelings persist and you suspect there might be a multiversal component, it's worth exploring further.
How would someone go about exploring that?
You can work with a therapist or energy healer who's familiar with these concepts.
Okay.
As we discussed earlier, apometry can be very effective in addressing multiverse obsession. You can also explore practices like meditation, journaling, and dream work to develop your own intuitive abilities.
It seems like this challenge of multiverse obsession is also an invitation to deepen our self-knowledge, to awaken to our own innate power as multidimensional beings.
Beautifully said. The multiverse isn't something to be feared. It's a realm of infinite possibilities of growth and expansion. The key is to approach it with awareness, discernment, and a clear intention to align with your highest potential. The Great Convergence, while potentially challenging, also presents a unique opportunity to accelerate our spiritual growth and to connect with aspects of ourselves we may not even know exist.
That's an inspiring perspective.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the most important takeaway you would like to leave our viewers with today?
Remember this. You are not alone. You are a powerful, multidimensional being with the ability to choose your reality. By cultivating awareness, grounding, energy hygiene, and a strong connection to your MOA, you can navigate the challenges of multiverse obsession and step into your full potential. The Great Convergence is not an ending, but a new beginning.
A new beginning, I love that. Thank you for taking us on this incredible journey through the multiverse. And all of you watching, thank you for being here. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this information with anyone who might find it valuable. Until next time, may your journey through the multiverse be filled with wonder, awareness, and empowerment. Now you have 2 videos on the screen. Choose one to continue your journey with the Quantum Soul.